Hello, Internet. This is Whispering Whim, bringing you another grocery haul today. And I do apologize for the fact that it's been a while. The day before I had reserved for doing a grocery haul, someone decided to drive their car into mine. And my guy and I share a single car. We should have a car by the end of the month. And I do have groceries today, so that's what we're going to focus on, right? And first up is some strawberries. It's kind of strawberry season where I live, or at least it's a good import season for strawberries. I think I only paid like $1.98 for that carton, so that's not too bad. Following that, we have some coconut caramel fudge cookies. This is the store brand right here. And for those who are not in the know, I think most of you would know, these are basically a knockoff of some Girl Scout cookies. And this is actually one of my favorite Girl Scout cookies. I think I like it better than the Thin Mints, although Thin Mints are definitely a close second. But at this point, I feel like I just can't, I'm not going to buy Girl Scout cookies anymore. My mom was a troop leader. She actually did it more for my sister than for me, but that's a whole nother story. And I remember, the expectation to sell lots of boxes, and you might get this little prize, but it's supposed to also support your troop. And the actual troop gets very little of that money. So I typically, if I see them out and I can't help it, I'll just give them $1. I'm like, here's $1 for your troop. And it breaks my heart. They feel so sad that they're getting $1, like physically, because I think most of those little girls are being trained to really want the prizes. The big, here's a off-roading bike or something kind of prizes. So what can you do? The world these days. Anyways, we've got some olives. Not one, but 2 cans of olives. I've just been on an olive kick. I don't know what else to say about that. So that's why I have 2 cans. And then we have some great northern beans and a can of beef broth. There's more beef broth in a carton somewhere else. And what I can say about that is I very carefully curated a list of foods that I thought we would need. I made, a meal list, and then I made a shopping list after that. And then I left the shopping list at home, and I was kind of in, I guess, panic mode. Due to the crash, we won't have a car for a few more days. Like, we got a rental from the insurance, which has been lovely, but we have to return it after the weekend. They really limited our time with that. So I know we won't have a car for a bit. So I was like, oh no, I left the shopping list at home, but I've got to buy stuff now. And I think I got some random things. I know I got some random things. And hopefully it'll all work out. Much better than me trying to organize this cupboard, apparently. I'm just going to shove things in there. Because I don't have enough room right now. Okay. To be continued on the cupboard cleaning. But in the meantime, we've got some good old avocado oil. I think at this point, that's kind of my favorite cooking oil. It's more neutral in flavor. Go there. It's more neutral in flavor than olive oil is, and it has a higher smoke point. So I think it's a very versatile cooking oil. And I really should just buy 2 of those every month. I've said this before. I know I've said this before. I should buy 2 of those avocado oils because I'm kind of an oil fiend. And with a month's worth of, cooking, I often go through the whole bottle. It's terrible. And I really actually should just cut back. I know my doctors would prefer that. But I've cut out so much. You guys already know this, but like I'm using less onions and garlic. I haven't stopped completely because, come on, who's not eating any onions and garlic? And I cut out a lot of other kinds of fat and blah, blah, blah. I feel deprived. And kind of oddly related. This is one of my impulse buys for the shopping trip. It is a pretzel Hello Panda, which Hello Panda is usually just it's like a cookie type thing with a filling. This one's pretzel flavored. And it's like, I have to get at least one for my guy. And I was like, but I'm super curious how they taste. I was thinking back and forth, and I was like, technically I'm not supposed to eat chocolate. That's another thing that's banned on my particular dietary list provided by a doctor. I'm not doing a fad diet. But I was like, yeah, it's probably so little chocolate. It should be fine. And, moral of the story, I picked up a second one so that I could try it as well. Following that, we have some beef jerky. I have been weird about protein lately. And I haven't always enjoyed eating it. Like, I used to be a big steak person. And like, I don't know, it just doesn't hit right anymore. But for some reason, beef jerky still works as a food. I only get myself one small bag and try to supplement with all the other items that I make for our communal living, right? But the beef jerky just kind of fills in some of the gaps on my lunch breaks. Speaking of filling in gaps, here we have a it's a jar of minced garlic. This is the roasted kind. I have been trying to be good about reducing the onions and the garlic, like I mentioned earlier. But I really don't want my guy to suffer through the very bland food I'm supposed to eat. So I've been kind of like looking for different things I can throw on his, kind of after the fact, or I cook it and then I separate it and cook some more flavor into his. And usually that results in me just throwing in a lot of peppers because, he likes it hot. But I figured this would be a good extra too. I don't know exactly what it tastes like. I've tried the non-roasted kind, and I'm not particularly a fan, but he has enjoyed it in the past. But maybe the roasted one's better. Hopefully it's not worse. We're gonna find out. Next up, we've got some naan bread. This is it's become kind of a regular staple in my grocery hauls, I think. Basically, well, there's a better flavor. This is just the original, so I'm sad about that. There's also a roasted garlic, ironically enough. Is that irony? Or is that just a coincidence? I think it's just a coincidence. Well, anyways, these make really good pizza crusts, or at least I enjoy them. You could get regular old pizza crusts, but like the pre-made ones that are in the grocery store are kind of ick to me. And, interestingly enough, the Winco, which is the store that I buy most of my food from, does sell like raw pizza dough as just an item. Like, not a prepared one in the sense that it's like boxed and packaged. Well, I mean, it is in a package. How do I say this? It is the dough they use in store because they make pizzas themselves. So you can just buy their pizza dough. And I have done that before. But this is just so much easier. And honestly, I enjoy the texture and the taste of a naan bread pizza. So, naan. N-A-A-N, not N-O-N-E. Is good stuff. All right, following that. Let's see here. Well, let's do something fun. I picked up a pack of Sour Punch Bites Tropical Blend. My guy enjoys gummy type treats, and most particularly sour ones. I believe I got some gummies in the last video I did. But anyways, these looked interesting. I haven't tried them, so we'll see how that goes. Actually, you know what? It might be 7 o'clock in the morning, but why not try this right now? I sometimes have very poor impulse control. Although I think everybody... Ooh. Well, you can definitely smell them right up front. They look sufficiently covered in the citric acid powder. They're not really that sour. Probably wouldn't buy them again, but they're sufficient. Yeah. And there were like 3 or 4 flavors at the store for those. So it must be a pretty popular thing. But yeah. Interesting. Okay. We're going to move right along here. I'm kind of on a timer. I tried to do this video last night. And I had discovered about an hour in that my recording device stopped recording. And that's pretty devastating because sound is kind of the important thing about this, which ironically the refrigerator turned on as I'm doing this whole spiel. So when I'm done with this bit, I'll turn it off and hopefully remember to turn it back on afterwards. I have forgotten that once or twice. So yeah, I did most of the video and then I didn't have the energy to restart last night, so I'm restarting this morning, and I'm trying to get this all done before my guy gets up in the morning, which I've got maybe another hour, which sounds like a lot of time because these videos, once they're edited, is only like an hour, often less. But for all the different like moments where you have to like shift and do different things, and I cut that out, an hour is not enough. But okay, so before I turn off the refrigerator, here is the thing that I've been holding, and it's another one of those darn spice packets that I don't know what it is, but I always buy them, and I really need to stop because this is like, they're up to like $1.28 now, I think. And it's like a single spice packet. If I had a big family, it'd only be one meal. Because it's only my guy and I use half of a packet at a time, so it technically covers 2 meals, but these days we've got to save all of our pennies, right? So I really should stop buying those, but I probably won't. Okay, refrigerator has been turned off, hopefully temporarily. And we're on to our next item. it would not be a proper grocery haul unless there was lots of jalapenos involved. That's kind of an unintentional signature of our time together, right? I think I got too many. Like I said, I left my shopping list at home before I went to the store. And yeah, I don't think I need that many, but I have all of the ingredients to turn them into jalapeno poppers. I don't think my guy would ever say no to a jalapeno popper, so that's just what I'll do with the excess, you know? When life gives you jalapenos, you make poppers. The classic phrase is when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Yeah, that's the common phrase. But the funny part about that is that humans actually cultivated lemons. Like they crossbred two different, I think it was, I can't remember which fruits, but they crossbred them and created lemons. So we've created our own lemons that we're turning into lemonade. Okay, moving on. We've got some Newtons, and they're not fig Newtons, and I think pretty much every time I buy these, I have to have this rant. I actually like fig Newtons. My guy does not like the fig kind, and when you get an alternative fruit in there, like these ones are strawberry, they obviously drop the fig and they just call them Newtons, but it's not a fig Newton anymore, and that makes me sad. I'm not sure why. I mean, I'm not that attached to figs, but the strawberry ones just seem kind of boring to me or something. I'm not sure. Moving right along, we've got some seaweed snacks. These are for me. They're a really nice snack. Only 25 calories for a pack, which is yay big. There is a lot of plastic packaging in these, so I do feel bad about that. Okay. But otherwise, they're pretty well proportioned. You get a bit of fat, you get a bit of protein, you get a bit of carbohydrate. There's like half a gram of fiber, which, considering that it's only 25 calories, that's kind of pretty good fiber bang for your buck, I guess. So I do enjoy those quite a bit. I normally get the regular flavor, but they didn't have them today, so I got the avocado one, which doesn't really taste all that much different, if I'm being honest. All right, next up, we've got an interesting little item. These would look like little cat food bowls, and if you assumed that's what they were, I mean, that's what most of the universe considers them. They were in the pet food aisle, but I do not have a cat. I haven't had a video in 2 months, right? The first month, honestly, I just took it off. I had a lot of doctor's appointments, and I had to go to blood work and blah, blah, blah. So I was just overwhelmed. I took it off. And then last month, right the day before I had planned on doing the grocery haul, I was driving. My guy and I have only one car. I was driving it to his work to pick him up after work, and someone decided to crash into me, and it was a hit and run. Bright sides, I walked away, didn't have to go to hospital. There was some soreness, and I had to kind of, rest for a bit. And oddly enough, they hit me in such a way and with enough force that they left their own license plate behind, which has made the whole, talking to police and the insurance a lot easier, because they're not really questioning whether or not I'm at fault. Basically, I was going straight on a green light, and they wanted to turn to their left, which would have crossed through my lane. And I guess they just thought they could make it, or maybe they were drunk. I don't know, because they sped off without talking to me. That's something for the police and or the insurance to sort out, right? But they hit the car and it's totaled. So we've got a rental for a couple of days, but it hasn't covered all the days. Long story short, I needed a distraction, right? And that distraction has been feeding the local crows, which is a murder. That's a group of crows. And I've been feeding them peanuts. I made friends with them really quick, honestly. The downside, though, is the crows are actually rather timid. They recognize that I want their attention. They'll eat the food sometimes, but all the other wildlife eats way more of the food. Ridiculously. Eats like 90% of it. Most of it is squirrels, and some of it are scrub jays, which are surprisingly aggressive. So, that's a long way to say the reason why I got these bowls is that I researched ways to discourage the squirrels. And turns out in my tiny little apartment setup, there's no way to prevent squirrels from eating the food I set out. They can jump like 4 feet up, and they can jump vertically like 5 feet, I think. And then they're also comfortable jumping down, I think 6 or 8 feet. I forget the rules. There's like a little equation that you can look up. And there's just too much out there. The apartment has an AC unit on that side and bushes, and there's you can't stop them. So the other alternative that I saw is that if you have a separate food supply for the squirrels and then highly discourage the squirrels from the primary food supply, which is the crow food, you can't stop them completely, but you can give your birds time to find the food. And I'm really going to try to do this plan. I've already gone through like 5 pounds of peanuts. I have never monetized this channel, but I have seriously considered making like an Amazon wish list so that you guys can help me buy wildlife stuff. Let me know in the comments if you'd actually be open to that. Most of the items I want are like around $30, so they're a little expensive. But anyways, moving on. This thing that I've been shaking around is the other beef broth. I plan on making sort of a meatball and mushroom stroganoff type deal. And for some reason, is it in here? It is in here. Instead of getting like reasonable, like the little curly, I can't think of the name of that shape, noodles, like the standard stroganoff noodles, I decided to be really random and grab these garden spirals. And I regret that. I regret that deeply because the more I look at them, because I've seen them a couple of times now while I was trying to arrange the different videos and stuff. I'm like, why did I decide garden spirals was the good choice for stroganoff? It's like probably the worst choice for stroganoff. Spaghetti noodles would probably work better. Oh man. I will admit, when I was doing my grocery shopping, I was getting a little loopy by the end of it. So I made a few weird calls here and there. But overall, I did get groceries and other assorted items. This is some eraser pads. Basically the store brand knockoff of the Magic Eraser, which apparently is like a material that you can buy in bulk if you want to, but I didn't care enough to do that. I got these because my mother-in-law was kind enough to buy me some new sandals. Her and I go to the pool together every Monday. And she does her aqua size class, and then I do lap swimming. I'm actually a pretty decent swimmer. And these new sandals need to be broken in, but also they're leaving a lot of like black, whatever you would call it, plastic, tar, colorant on my feet. So the shower actually has like physical footprints in it when I wash off, and they're starting to bother me. So I guess in the near future I'm going to be scrubbing my bathtub. I don't want to. It sounds like a lot of work, but you know, it's probably overdue anyways. You got to clean those things once in a while. Moving on, we've got a couple of apples. Those are for my guy. And then we also, for my guy, have some Cheetos. And these, of course, are the jalapeno flavored Cheetos. I find them to be pretty tasty, actually. The jalapeno aspect is not really very hot. But for some reason, maybe it's just the combination, because it's more like eating queso than it is eating a regular Cheeto. I actually personally enjoy these as well. And because they're not very spicy, I can eat a couple. If they were more spicy, I wouldn't be able to. So, you know. Following that, we've got some good old classic Pops. You know, I hadn't been a cereal eater for a very long time. And then with all the diet changes, I've been picking up cereal. Last month or 2 months ago, I think it was, I got some Frosted Mini Wheats. And this time we're doing Corn Pops. And it's very nostalgic. They're not the healthiest of foods, but they're kind of, in my mind, something that kind of counts as a treat, but also a meal at the same time. I mean, American breakfasts tend to be very high carb anyway, so a bit of cereal here and there. I'm not going to really affect the status quo, I suppose. I'll be honest, most breakfasts that I eat are just me having leftovers, like dinner leftovers. I don't mind eating savory things in the morning. In fact, I usually feel better if I do, right? If I skip the whole donut pastry ordeal. So, okay. We have, next up, some kidney beans. And this was, I guess you could call it a panic buy. I had my list, or I made a list for all my grocery shopping. And I very specifically tried to make sure it would be enough for a whole week, because we won't be able to use the rental car after the weekend. And we're going to have a couple of days before we have the money moved over to start purchasing a new car. And so I had forgotten my list. I was trying to remember everything, and I was like, okay, if I have forgotten something really important for a meal, there are certain pantry staples, there we go, that you can buy and make other meals out of. And beans are high on that list for me because they're protein, they're fiber. Really, you could get by, at least nutritionally, pretty well with beans and rice. Although it tends to be a little boring after a while, right? Okay. Now we have some mayonnaise. I ended up throwing out my last bit of mayonnaise. We had a power outage, because I didn't have enough problems in my life. We had a power outage for about almost 4 hours, just not too long ago. And the thing I can say about that, because I always try to be grateful, even when bad stuff happens, is that the power outage happened before this grocery trip. So there was very minimal things in the refrigerator. And the only thing I really decided to throw away was the mayonnaise and the eggs. So, yay. For that, I suppose. And now we have some coffee. Oh, I thought that would be a different sound. Okay, anyways, moving on. This is exclusively for my guy at this point. If you've been... Ooh, we got a crow friend. Uh-oh. I might have to go feed my crow real quick. Be right back. Well, I tried feeding my crow bro. But once again, I think the squirrels actually intimidate them. Like, they'll squawk at the squirrels sometimes, but they don't swoop in and, like, scare them the way I've seen other birds do. What I'm finding is that crows are very sensitive creatures, and like me, they don't like confrontation. So, no peanuts for them. The squirrels got them all. Anyways, moving right along here, we've got some top ramen, some backup food for me in case life decides to throw another curveball. I think, assuming I don't have too much, bad karma, I've used up all of my bad luck for this month. I think. Famous last words, I guess. Knock on wood. I don't think that really counts as wood. Oh, nope, that part's wood. This is like an odd, covering though. It's not. That's weird. It's made out of wood, but the surface is like fake wood. I never really noticed that about my cabinets before. How odd. Okay. Anyways, we've got some mushrooms. You know me, I have a love-hate relationship with the mushrooms. I keep eating them, but they kind of gross me out at the same time. I'm very confused by our relationship. And then we have more jalapeno stuff. This is the Winco brand kettle cooked jalapeno chips. Again, it's a store brand. And what I find really interesting is that my guy and I both agree these actually taste better than the name brand stuff. I don't know what it is about them. I haven't done like an actual side-by-side taste test, but I do know the roughly $2 price difference means that even if the store brand was slightly better, or rather the name brand, right, was slightly better, I would not get it for $2 extra. Not right now. Okay. Finishing off that bag is some good old sourdough. I'm looking forward to some sourdough toast here in the future. And then, let's see here. Let's do this one. Regular old paper towels, nothing too fancy there. I also picked up some TP that's kind of hiding off camera, and it's now buried with all the stuff I've pulled out of my bags. So, just for the sake of being complete, I also bought some toilet paper today. Or, gosh, what was that? Yesterday now. It was not today. And then, last but not least for that bag is some tahini. I make lots of, Mediterranean or Mid-Eastern. I make a lot of dishes that use tahini. We'll just simplify it with that. Hummus, and there's some sauces, and there's something else that I'm blanking on right now. But long story short, I didn't actually need to buy this on this particular grocery trip, and I knew that even when I grabbed it. But it's one of those pantry staple type things that I assume I have in stock. And when I run out and don't replace it, I end up creating a problem for myself later on. So I just went ahead and stocked right back up. And that gets us to dun, 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 our final dry goods bag. I got quite a bit of stuff today. But we're getting through it. We're getting through it. First is some Triscuits. My guy loves Triscuits, and he especially loves it when there's like meat and cheese involved. And because I'm going to be making those flatbread pizzas, the Naan pizzas, I bought some pepperoni, of course. And we won't use it all on our little tiny pizzas. So he gets to use the rest of the pepperoni to put on Triscuits. I want to make sure my guy's happy. Okay. And we have some chili roasted pistachios. This is also for my guy. His lunches, I try to add at least one protein source in every lunch, but it's usually because he doesn't like, not a big fan of cold meat, I guess is the simplest way to say it. So I can't just throw in some ham or turkey like I would do for myself. Like I've literally just eaten packs of deli meat for lunch before. So, you know, I rely on nuts and cheeses. He does do pepperoni and salami. That's like the exception to cold meat. Every other kind of meat can't be cold. So I think I'll end that particular strain of thought there and talk about this other kind of meat. I think it's meat. Let's see here. Wheat flour, water, chicken. Chicken is the third ingredient, even though these are chicken flavored dog treats. And I am just curious if the crows want to eat this. It was only $1 for this bag of treats, which probably indicates that it's pretty poor quality. And the fact that wheat is the main ingredient also indicates that it's probably pretty poor quality. But I'm committed to this whole, like, okay, there is a channel, it's like Milk House 6000 or something like that. And he has crows that he feeds regularly, I think daily. And he often makes a video about it, but he doesn't stick with just the peanuts and the cat food, which works very well for my particular murder. He'll play around and see what they like, and if they don't like something but is nutritionally okay for them, he'll test, like, okay, if I cook it, would they like it better? If I stick it in a peanut shell, will they eat it? He does all sorts of things, but he basically makes these little charcuterie boards for the crows, and they'll be like, here's some egg, and here's some peanuts, and here's, you know, mealworms, and it's I find it really interesting because he alternates between testing their preferences and then testing their intelligence. So he makes little puzzles for his crows. You know, pick this up to get a treat, or move that over to get the treat. I don't know. I would have never guessed that I was going to be a crow feeder, but life just goes in interesting directions. Okay, we've got 2 packets of granola bars, a peanut flavored one and an almond flavored one. I think you can guess that those are going to go into the lunches as well. And then when I picked up the sour punch bites, obviously I was in the candy aisle already. I got these gummy bears, and I think I've mentioned these before, but this brand, Albanese, makes really good gummy bears. Really good. I mean, they're kind of medium as far as like soft hard goes. But what's crazy to me is that when you eat one, you can actually taste that particular fruit. Most other gummy bears, it's like They all just kind of taste like each other. Sometimes you can tell a difference, especially if you look at the color and think about the flavor it's supposed to be. But these ones really genuinely taste like what they're supposed to be. And in this particular pack, we should have mango, pear, currant, blood orange, cranberry, apple, pineapple, and raspberry. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. And we're on to the refrigerator goods. Yay! First up, for the items that have been sitting in my fridge waiting to be talked about, is a plain old cucumber. I hadn't actually planned on buying a cucumber. I do like to eat them, and I will eat this one. But mostly I bought it because they were like only 50 cents. So I'm like, okay, are you past your expiration date? You feel firm enough. Or did they just have a bumper crop? Yeah, no, I said that right. Of cucumbers and they need to offload them. But 50 cents, that's pretty cheap these days. So I got me a cucumber. And then I have some good old celery. Add some variety into our lunch vegetables, because we eat a lot of carrots in this household and it gets tiring, right? And then we have Mexican style blend cheese. I think, yeah, this was one of the panic buys. I don't think I actually need this, but shred cheese I always find a use for. And this one is good until November 3rd. So that's not really a problem. Definitely be able to eat that at some point. And then we've got some good old raspberries. When I got my list of foods that I was supposed to eat from the GI doctor, he had like a little grid thing on, which fruits and vegetables had fiber in them. I mean, they all have some. And raspberries ranked really high on the list. I think they were even higher than apples. And I like raspberries, so that's not a problem. Although, speaking of fiber foods, the other day I was eating, and here's some carrots. The other day I was preparing, rather, to make some, frozen shrimp. Cook them in the toaster oven. And I was looking down at it and I was like, I'm supposed to be adding more fiber to my diet. And I don't want to make a salad today. And I was already in the freezer, so I was rummaging around and we have these little zucchini straw type things. I buy them to replace fries, French fries. Or American fries, as some people call them these days. But I bought these things as a replacement for fries because they kind of, they're crunchy. They're not the same. But potato, anything from the nightshade family, potato, eggplant, tomatoes, I'm not supposed to have. I still have a little bit, but I'm not supposed to. Anyways, the story's getting way too long. The little zucchini straws, I looked at the nutrition information and compared it to the shrimp. And I was flabbergasted by the fact that the shrimp had more fiber per serving than the zucchini straws did. I was like, well, that's a bit unsettling. But hey, it's an excuse to just dump more shrimp onto my cooking tray. So that's how I dealt with that situation. I'm going to have to wise up one of these days, I suppose. Truth be told, I check the nutrition facts for most of the things I buy, but A, it gets a little tedious, and B, sometimes you have to eat the junk food, and apparently little zucchini bite things are junk food. Okay, here's those pepperonis that I talked about earlier that are going to be used for pizzas and for little Triscuit sandwiches. And these are the in-store ones. Like I said, the grocery store that I purchase this food from makes pizzas themselves. And it's cheaper to buy, this was $2.04 for, how much is 0.3 pound? Well, I guess that's about close to the prepackaged kind. And then we have, we have the house sauce, the store sauce, and it was only $1.58 for this canister container. And that definitely is cheaper than the other sauce that I like. Like, you can find really cheap pizza sauce if you look for it, but I'm a little picky. And this one, for the $1.58 will actually get us through two different occasions of eating the flatbread pizzas. Like, that's definitely enough for at least 4 different flatbreads. So, okay. I'm going to have to try to move this along and wrap this up here. We've got some more jalapeno stuff because, it's a thing. But this is honey jalapeno hummus. And that sounds odd, but we have had honey jalapeno pizzas before, and they were pretty good. So maybe the hummus will be all right. It's just the sesame that's throwing me off, because that's something that has tahini in it, or should. Maybe they don't put the tahini in this one. I didn't even check that. Oh no, yeah, they have ground sesame in here. They don't even call it tahini. Which I guess transparency and labeling, they would have to do it that way. So I don't know how that'll taste, but you only live once. So, and then I got myself a spinach artichoke dip with Parmesan. I didn't need it. I know it wasn't on my grocery list. See, this is why I need a grocery list. But I knew it wasn't on the grocery list that I left behind. But I saw it, and I wanted it. And guess what? I got it. Next up, we have some Holy Guacamole Classic Minis. So this one's got it's got a little bit of jalapeno in it, a little bit of onion. There is a kind that's pure avocado, but it tastes pretty awful, actually. I gave up my Sam's Club membership because we couldn't afford it this year. And for some reason, their avocados were the best, or the most easy for me to properly ripen and use for some reason. And the ones at Winco, there's either they're doing something wrong or I'm doing something wrong, but I've never gotten one of those to ripen properly. And I love avocado. So this is the next best thing. It's not as good as having fresh avocado, but it does in a pinch work for things like avocado toast, right? So, and healthy fats, there's some fiber in there. Always got to get the fiber. Ooh, and 1 whole gram of protein. So, there you go. It's super nutritious. And then finishing out that bag is some watermelon. I've been really enjoying watermelon lately. And I should mention, there's been a surprising amount of plastic baggies in this trip. Did I forget to bring bags? No, actually, I intentionally brought less. Go away. Than I knew I would need, and that's because I need them. My feet tend to develop cracks really easily, and quite deep ones. Occasionally they bleed. And I was talking about this with someone, and they're like, well, you should put lotion on and then some petroleum jelly, and then wrap it in plastic, and then wrap that in a sock. And I might have mentioned this last. This is feeling like deja vu, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But wrap it in a sock, and she said ideally sleep with that overnight, which I can't. I use my feet for thermal regulation, and that would make them just too hot. But, I do the whole process and let it sit for like an hour, and it helps quite a bit with the cracks. So I'm going to keep doing it, but it means I need to occasionally bring home a few plastic bags. I feel bad about it, but not super bad. Mostly because prior to this advice, I had been purchasing on occasion. You can buy these little like pre-made plastic foodie things that also have lotion in them. And I wasn't buying them very often because they were kind of expensive, but I was using them, and I think there's way more plastic in one of those than there is in a grocery bag. So, take your wins where you can get them, right? But I did not entirely use plastic bags. I did bring a couple of my normal fabric bags, like this one right here. And it is our last bag for today. Technically, there's like ice cream and bread in the freezer, but I'm not going to pull that out. I'm starting to feel the time crunch even more. So we're just going to go ahead and do this. First up, we've got 2 packets of chicken. And this particular brand's a bit more expensive. And I really should just buy the super cheap chicken, but my guy and I basically have agreed that we don't like really cheap chicken. So what I've really been doing is just having less chicken in all of my recipes and supplementing. Beans are a really good source of protein, and you get fiber out of them. So, we don't need to eat that much meat. Then we've got some good old pizza cheese. This is also the Winco in-house store brand, however you want to phrase it. Random thing falling. Cheese. And it was $3.58 for this container. That is 9 ounces. That's not too bad of a price. I probably could have gotten by with other types of cheeses, but I'm actually kind of curious to see if I like that better than I normally put on the Mexican blend cheese. So, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. All right. Oof. Don't fall. No falling. Really no falling. The part that wants to fall is the very precious eggs. Oh, man. Okay, so yeah, I have eggs. That's pretty self-explanatory. And here we have some more naan. This one is little tiny naans. And for some reason, it's the same brand as the ones I'm going to use for the pizzas, right? It's the same brand. But for some reason, these ones need to be kept refrigerated and the other ones don't. I don't know exactly why. But these ones are tiny. They're small. So they're more like dipping size, like bread chips, I guess. Soft bread chips. And I plan on eating my my artichoke dip with those. I think it'll be a really good combination. Okay. And then we have one very giant head of broccoli. All of the broccolis were just super huge when I was in the store. And this one sweated quite a bit, which is not overly surprising. It was really hot yesterday, and I tried to make a stop. Oh, that's super wet. So, small side note. In these plastic bags, if you get a lot of moisture, it can cause your produce to go bad faster. So I might have to replace that baggie with some other kind of baggie. But I'll just set that to the side for a second. What was I saying? I actually stopped at a fast food joint called Sonic's. And not for food. I was really hoping they would sell me their ice, which the internet says they will do that, but individual store locations probably have different opinions. But lately I've been wanting to chew on the ice. So I stopped there, and apparently what is it, like panel? Because they have like this screen and you push a button. Wasn't working right, or they were intentionally ignoring me. I'm not sure. Yeah. So I stood out for like about 10 minutes, I think. And I was like, I could, because I watched them service another vehicle. I was like, well, I could change spots and try to get the ice that way, but I have produce. I got to get home. So I did not get my ice, and unfortunately I left my groceries out for an extra 10 minutes in the heat. Not enough to, make it unsanitary, but just enough to essentially shorten its lifespan. So, all right, moving on. We've got some Colby Jack cheese. That'll be basically fodder for the Triscuit pepperoni situation. And then we got some blackberries. I got these mostly because they were on sale. Only $1 for this container, which is pretty inexpensive. In the wintertime, I pay like up to $4, I think, for one of those. Some regular old butter. And finally, some cheese. String cheese, to be precise. And then I guess I should do some shout outs. I've been avoiding the comment section because I felt super guilty about missing so many months. But you guys still deserve shout outs, so let's do that. And for these shout outs, there's definitely a couple where someone made a comment and I haven't responded as of the recording, but I will try to, in the next day or two, actually have a response for you guys. I'm so sorry that I've been inattentive. I know there's a couple of you who, really enjoy this and have made it part of your life. And yeah. But, car crashes, doctor's appointments, things happened. I'll do better. Okay, so shout out to Sharon Nelson, Carrie Higgins, Danielle Fours, Stephen Collister 2169, we'll say Crystal, Bosibish 5872, Trey B. Maybe, and Max, and Soapy Water. And there's so many of you guys. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So many. And that's awesome because you guys know that the comments, the sense of community is what keeps me doing this. I don't typically let people down. And I don't think I've really let you guys down. I think most of you will be forgiving for this. At any rate, I hope you guys had a good time today and that you sleep well tonight, okay? Nighty-night.